The history of Genghis Khan is not merely the biography of a single man, but the origin story of the largest contiguous land empire in human history, a seismic event that reshaped the demographics, borders, and cultural trajectories of Asia and Europe. His narrative begins not in a palace or a city, but in the vast, unforgiving steppes of Central Asia. A landscape that bred a unique form of toughness, mobility, and strategic brilliance. Born around 1162 near the Anan River in what is now Mongolia, he was given the name Temüjin, after a Tartar chieftain his father, Yasuge, had recently captured. His early life was a brutal tutorial in survival and the harsh realities of steppe politics. His father, a minor chieftain of the Borjigin clan, was poisoned by Tartars when Temüjin was only 9, leaving his family destitute and abandoned by their clan, who saw no use in supporting a widow and her young children. This period of extreme hardship, where Temüjin fought with his half-brother for dominance and was even temporarily enslaved by a rival clan, forged in him an iron will, a profound understanding of betrayal, and a ruthless determination to never again be vulnerable. His personal magnetism and growing reputation for resilience, however, began to attract followers. A pivotal early alliance was his friendship with Jamuka, a boy from another tribe, whom he swore an oath of Anda, or blood brotherhood. Another was his marriage to Bert, of the Conquest tribe, union arranged by his father that would provide him with a crucial political alliance and a loyal companion. The defining moment of his early manhood was the kidnapping of Bert by the Merkit tribe. His successful raid to rescue her, aided by his allies Jamuka and Togrul, the powerful Onkan of the Kara tribe, demonstrated his burgeoning talent for coalition building and decisive action, significantly boosting his prestige. However, the fluid alliances of the steppe were fragile. Temüjin's rising power inevitably created friction with his former blood brother Jamuka. The relationship soured, escalating into open warfare. The conflict between Temüjin and Jamuka was a clash of philosophies. Jamuka represented the old, aristocratic steppe order, where status was derived from lineage and tradition. Temüjin, by contrast, was a revolutionary meritocrat. He promoted his followers based on ability and loyalty rather than noble birth, rewarding competence and punishing treachery, regardless of family ties. This approach earned him the fierce devotion of a growing number of warriors who saw in him a path to personal advancement. After a series of battles, including a significant defeat at the hands of Jamuka, which he survived through sheer tenacity, Temüjin began to consolidate his power. His political acumen was further displayed in his complex relationship with Togrul, whom he supported in campaigns only to later find himself in conflict with, as Togrul grew jealous of his protege's success. By 1206, through a relentless combination of military genius, strategic diplomacy, and utter ruthlessness, he systematically broke the power of the Tatar Merkit, Naman, and Karat confederations. Temüjin had united all the nomadic tribes of the Mongolian plateau. At a great assembly, or Kurultai, held at the headwaters of the Anan River, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, a title whose meaning is still debated, but is generally understood as universal ruler or oceanic sovereign. This moment marked the birth of the Mongol nation, Yik Mongol Ulus, and the end of centuries of internecine tribal warfare. With a unified people, Genghis Khan now turned his formidable energy outward. His first major target was the Xi Kingdom Western Xia in northwestern China, a Tangut state. The campaign, launched in 1209, was a brutal demonstration of a new style of warfare. The Mongols, masters of mobility and siegecraft, adapted from Chinese engineers, defeated the Xia armies in the field, and laid siege to their capital. After forcing their submission and extracting a massive tribute, including the promise of military support for future campaigns, Genghis secured his southern flank for his primary objective, the colossal Jin dynasty of northern China. The Jin, ruled by the Jurchen people, were a formidable enemy, with vast armies, walled cities, and a deeply entrenched bureaucratic state. The war, which began in 1211, was a masterclass in psychological and total war. Genghis Khan exploited the internal weaknesses of the Jin, who treated their ethnic Chinese subjects as second-class citizens and used terror as a weapon. Cities that resisted were utterly annihilated, their populations massacred as a grim warning to others, while those that surrendered promptly were often spared. This tactic, while horrific, was calculated to induce rapid surrender and minimize long, draining sieges. His armies, operating with breathtaking speed and coordination, ravaged the Jin territories, systematically plundering the countryside and isolating the great cities. In 1215, after a protracted siege, the Mongol forces captured the Jin capital of Zhongdu near modern Beijing, looting its immense wealth and effectively breaking the back of Jin power. Though the dynasty would hold out in a reduced form for another 2 decades, while still engaged in China. Events to the west drew Genghis Khan's attention to a new and unforeseen theater of war. In 1218, he sent a trade caravan to the neighboring Khwarezmian Empire, a powerful Muslim state controlling Central Asia and Persia. The Shah of Khwarezm, Muhammad II, foolishly had the merchants executed, viewing it as a minor provocation. Genghis, following his diplomatic protocol, sent envoys to demand justice. In response, Shah Muhammad had one of the envoys beheaded and sent the others back with their beards shaved. A grave insult. This act triggered one of the most devastating military campaigns in history. The invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire 1219 to 1221 was a cataclysm. Genghis Khan personally led an army that may have numbered 200,000 warriors. The campaign was characterized by strategic brilliance and unprecedented destruction. The Mongol armies moved not as a single slow mass, but in multiple, independently operating columns, coordinating their movements across hundreds of miles to trap and annihilate opposing forces. Great cities like Bukhara, Samarkand, and Merv, centers of Islamic culture and learning, were systematically reduced to rubble. Their populations were massacred with industrial efficiency, with death tolls often estimated in the hundreds of thousands for a single city. Artisans and skilled workers were often spared and sent back to Mongolia. But the scholarly and religious classes were not so lucky. The purpose was twofold: to exact total revenge for the insult, and to shatter the very foundation of the Khwarezmian state so completely that it could never recover. Shah Muhammad was hounded to his death on a small island in the Caspian Sea, and his son Jalal ad-Din was defeated in a final, desperate battle at the Indus River. The conquest of Khwarezm opened the gates of the Islamic world to the Mongols and demonstrated their power to a terrified Europe. As reconnaissance forces under Generals Jeeb and Subutai probed deep into the Caucasus in Russia, crushing Russian and Cuman armies at the Battle of the Kalka River in 1223, the military machine that enabled these staggering conquests was not a horde of undisciplined barbarians, as often depicted, but a highly sophisticated, organized, and adaptable force. At its core was the Mongol soldier, raised in the saddle, capable of surviving on minimal supplies, and an expert with a composite recurve bow, a weapon of exceptional power and range. Their tactics were built around their supreme mobility. They were masters of the feigned retreat, luring enemy armies into pursuing them only to be encircled and destroyed. Their discipline, communication through a system of flags and whistling arrows, and ability to live off the land gave them a strategic reach no contemporary army could match. Genghis Khan organized his army into a decimal system, units of 10 arban, E, Jagun, E, Kongan, Ingen, and 10,000 tumen, which fostered unit cohesion and a clear chain of command. Loyalty was to the unit and the Khan, not to a tribe, breaking down old clan rivalries. He also created an elite imperial guard, the Kishig, which served as both his personal bodyguard and a training school for officers. Beyond military innovation, Genghis Khan was a brilliant administrator. He devised the Yasa, a legal code that brought order and unity to his diverse empire. It addressed everything from military discipline and hunting protocols to inheritance and religious tolerance. Despite his own personal belief in Tengrism, the sky god of the steppes, he decreed absolute freedom of religion for all his subjects. a pragmatic policy that helped govern his religiously diverse conquests and won the cooperation of clerics of various faiths. He also recognized the importance of writing, adopting the Uyghur script to create a written Mongolian language, which was crucial for record-keeping and transmitting orders across vast distances. His empire was connected by the Yam, a revolutionary courier and relay system of stations with fresh horses and riders that allowed messages and officials to travel with astonishing speed from one end of the empire to the other. Asterisk, in 1227, at the height of his power, Genghis Khan died. The exact cause of his death remains shrouded in mystery, with theories ranging from a fall from his horse to illness or wounds sustained in his final campaign against the rebellious Eskya. His final resting place is one of history's great secrets. He was buried according to tradition in an unmarked grave somewhere in the Khenti Mountains of Mongolia.